Test. Good morning, everyone. If you would please stand for the arrival of Prime Minister, the Honorable Philip Davis. Please be seated. Prime Minister, the Honorable Philip Davis. Minister of Energy and Transport, the Honorable JoBeth Colby Davis. Members of the Cabinet, members of Parliament present. Senior Policy Advisor in the Office of the Prime Minister, Mr. Jerome Fitzgerald. And the sun has decided to come out just as we get started. I'm Press Secretary in the Office of the Prime Minister, Keishla Adderley, and a wonderful good morning to all of you. Now, late last year, many of you were present when the government announced some of the first steps towards one of its major priorities, the improvement of energy generation in the Bahamas through cleaner, more reliable, and more affordable systems. Requests for proposals were issued inviting bids for the provision of energy generation for New Providence and on several family islands. A lot has happened since then to move the process closer to realization. Among them, the passage of the Electricity Bill 2024 and the Natural Gas Bill 2024, which are part and parcel of an aggressive, unprecedented reform to, as stated by the Energy Minister JoBeth Colby Davis, pull the energy sector out of crisis. This morning, the Ministry of Energy and Transport, having made major forward steps, is pleased to make several big announcements linked to its comprehensive new energy reforms. Please welcome Minister of Energy and Transport, the Honorable JoBeth Colby Davis, who will introduce the Prime Minister. Please welcome her.
Prime Minister, Honorable Philip Brave Davis, Cabinet colleagues, permanent secretaries, other senior government officials, special invited guests, representing a cross-section of the Bahamas business community, members of the media, executives from the unions of BPL and BPL executives, Bahamians everywhere, a very pleasant good morning. As Minister with responsibility for energy, I am delighted that so many of you have joined us for the announcement of new and comprehensive energy reforms across the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Over the last few years, our country has been blessed with great economic successes. What is important to note is that energy demand and economic growth go hand in hand. When one goes up, the other does as well. As an island nation, it is a fact that our fuel costs for energy production is very high. Furthermore, there are insufficient funds to expand the energy infrastructure, and Bahamas Power and Light has not been collecting enough revenue to go beyond the basic maintenance of the existing systems. To make matters worse, wars and other global geopolitical turmoil in recent years have caused our pass-through fuels to continue to rise. This has put a strain on our population to keep up with the energy costs, despite BPL's revenue rate remaining unchanged. This situation is untenable. In short, the Davis administration inherited a crisis in energy. As a government, it is not sufficient for us to acknowledge the crisis, but to fix it. And let there be no mistake, we are determined to fix it. Today is no ordinary day. Our presence here is not futile exercise in public relations. We are not here to grandstand. The energy reforms that will be shared are the result of tremendous research, careful analysis, and detailed planning. While no policy decision is without criticism, we firmly believe that the initiatives outlined in our energy reform agenda are in the best interests of all Bahamians. Now we understand that there will be a degree of skepticism about our ability to see the reforms through to completion. I understand why there will be doubters, but I also know that our energy reform vision is built on three key ingredients. They are courage, comprehensiveness, and customization. Courage, the electric infrastructure system is an always integrated network where generation resources are physically connected to customers through a multi-mile system of transmission and distribution grids and substations. So to make a meaningful upgrade to the system, it tends to take an all or nothing approach, or the network risks only being as good as its weakest link. Envisioning and coordinating all of the components called for a tremendous amount of courage, tenacity, and expertise. This is the human side of our energy reform, and it frankly enables the rest. Without courage, we cannot kick this off. Comprehensiveness. Our energy reform roadmap is comprehensive, and that's what makes it future-proof as we can make it. The complementary components of it includes right-sizing the system, enabling multiple fuel options and fuel efficiency, integrating renewables and storage technology, and promoting the adoption of consumer-side technologies. By pursuing this suite of activities, we will not only catch up with leading global energy infrastructure standards, but we will become the gold standard here in the Bahamas. This is the technical side of the energy reform. Third is customization. As an island nation, where our major islands have different population and natural resources attributes, we knew that we needed different infrastructure approaches to each. But at the same time, we all care about the same benefits, such as energy reliability, affordability, sustainability, and resiliency. Marrying those two halves is what we have been spending much of our focus on for the past few months and last 2.5 years, so that the custom energy solutions and approaches that we have selected for each location is sure to benefit all Bahamians in a similar way. This is the philosophical side of the energy reform. The reforms that we are announcing today are courageous, comprehensive, and customizable. I'm excited that we are all here to take part in the transformative energy journey, to be able to say that we did it. The positive effect of what we are kicking off now will not only be felt by our children and our children's children generation, but it will be noticed around the world. Before we share specific reforms, it is prudent that we hear from the architect of our energy reforms. He's a leader who needs no introduction, as his work speaks for itself. He's a man who cares for all Bahamians. He wants all businesses to do well. He's also passionate about the work to fix this energy crisis in our country. Please join me in welcoming to the podium our Prime Minister, the Minister of Finance, the Honorable Philip Brave Davis. Thank you.
Morning, and please be seated. I stand on the protocol that was established, and I wish to thank each and every one of you very much and for joining us here this morning. This is a very exciting day as we share the comprehensive and innovative energy reforms, policies, and partnerships which will propel our country into a new energy era. The announcements we are sharing this morning come after nearly 3 years of work that began in our first week in office. Transforming our country's energy sector has been a priority for us from the start. On the one hand, we have been compelled by the urgency of change, the need to relieve Bahamian families and businesses from the burden of high prices and unreliable electricity supply. Relief is an important enough goal, especially during a global inflation crisis. But we are also motivated by our profound conviction that our economy can be more competitive, more prosperous, more dynamic, and more inclusive, and more paths to security and success for more Bahamians. We have very big ambitions for our country and for the Bahamian people. However, you can't build a 21st century economy with 20th century infrastructure. In every conversation I have with entrepreneurs, business owners, and investors, from the very smallest to the very largest, the high cost of electricity and the costs and uncertainties creating uncertainties associated with unreliable supply inevitably comes up. For most Bahamians, the only bill bigger is their rent or mortgage payment. Major bills are a major burden, which means less disposable income, which means less spending and investment in our local economy. And of course, high bills for businesses means high operating costs, affecting our competitiveness and our ability to diversify and creating obstacles to growth and development, impacting investments, business expansions, and job creation. Now, even with all of these problems, we are a special enough country that we have come roaring back after the dark days of Hurricane Dorian, the pandemic, curfews, and lockdowns, breaking new records with substantial new investments and job growth. Just imagine what we could have accomplished if we had affordable, reliable, clean energy. That's where we are finally headed. That's where we are finally headed. But right before we get to the hopeful part of today's launch, that is the solutions, I want to make sure you all have an understanding of the scale of the challenge. Important parts of our electricity infrastructure, including some transformers and substations, are more than 50 years old. They date back to even before independence. It's hard to describe the experience of listening to engineers emphasize that critical parts of our grid are on the verge of collapse with no chance of revival once they go down. And then there are the generation engines. 60% of BPL's plant in New Providence and 80% in the Family Islands need replacement within the next 5 years. So we have an aging, vulnerable, deteriorating, expensive system dependent on heavy and diesel fuels that cannot meet current needs, let alone the growing energy needs of a digital economy or the increased demand we have to anticipate as temperatures rise in this new climate era. If you're wondering how much it costs to rescue and modernize our grid, I have an answer for you: about $500 million. Of course, BPL is also carrying a legacy debt of the same amount, more than $500 million, not to mention the unfunded liability, pension liability of $100 million. I could go on about the grid's costs annually, which on as are we. We understood that as urgent today, we are excited to share these policies with you, which include a foundational update to transmission, distribution, gaining both
of battery energy storage systems will be integrated into the existing grid. 25 megawatts of the solar energy will be paired with the 25 megawatts of battery energy storage that already exists at the Blue Hills Power Plant. I'm pleased to share that the recommended independent power producers for New Providence are Eco Energy, NT Incorporation, and Compass. The power purchase agreements are currently being negotiated. Reform 3, modernization of the electricity grid and transmission and distribution network for the New Providence through a partnership with Island Grid. To understand Reform 3, permit me to share a few irrefutable facts, which the Prime Minister as well has shared. BPL operates 29 power stations on 17 islands. In less than a decade, BPL amassed almost $500 million in debt. BPL has loan interest payments of more than $28 million annually and $122 million pension liability. BPL has about 90 megawatts of age, obsolete, new generation assets tethering on the edge in New Providence and another 30 megawatts in the Family Islands. To augment its generation needs in New Providence and the Family Islands, BPL relies on 145 megawatts rental generation between New Providence and the Family Islands, costing BPL about $42 million annually for the rental agreements. BPL's T&D infrastructure is in desperate need of upgrades, as much of it dates to 1980s and early 1990s, with few enhancements to reduce significant system losses. BPL's present infrastructure is crippled by the effects of the climate change, with soaring temperatures and natural disasters having a detrimental effect on the company's assets. Finally, it is not well positioned to complement the country's growth projections for the next 5 to 10 years, as generation projections calls 340 megawatts of power needed for New Providence and 100 megawatts for the Family Islands. The partnership with Island Grid will extend the infrastructure capabilities beyond BPL alone can do by bringing in a generation and T&D expert to pursue much-needed upgrades. It is important to share that Island Grid has over 60 years' experience in delivering best-in-class energy infrastructure under the company's subsidiary, Pike. The company's projects in the Bahamas include projects on Walker's Key and in the other islands, Grand Cayman, also in Grand Bahama, and they assisted in Puerto Rico. The partnership with Island Grid will lower the fuel costs and improve operating efficiency. The benefits of this arrangement will be felt through affordable energy prices and fewer power interruptions. Energy costs will be lowered through several mechanisms. First is the shift towards generation options with lower cost fuels, no cost fuels in the case of renewable energy. Second is the upgrade of the grid, which will bring about a more efficient delivery of power so less energy is wasted, getting the power from the generation plant to your home. Third, a well-built and well-sized system will allow for a lower ongoing maintenance cost than what we currently have today. All these savings will be passed along to the customers. The T&D agreement will improve reliability on New Providence. The T&D work is to improve reliability along several dimensions: the addition of a new switching station and a new transmission line, and proper looping of the system, reconductoring work, substation protection upgrades, and targeted distribution protection schemes and voltage regulation. These are foundational to the reliable operation of any T&D system and are currently in urgent need of attention. To maintain international standards and energy engineering oversight, ECF Consulting has been engaged as the owner's engineer. That is the project manager. ECF, on behalf of the Bahamian people and the government of the Bahamas, will independently oversee all projects to completion, coordinating between various stakeholders, including contractors, suppliers, and regulatory authorities. To the workers of BPL, I wish to categorically state that there will be no layoffs because of the partnership. There's no intention to offer voluntary separation program, and current industrial agreements will not be impacted. It is our expectation that exciting new roles and training opportunities will emerge that BPL employees will have early access to. Meetings will be held with all employees of BPL to ensure that all questions and concerns will be answered. Reform 4, transforming energy generation through LNG implementation in New Providence. Liquefied natural gas, LNG, is set to revolutionize energy generation in New Providence and our Family Islands, significantly benefiting customers and the environment. By integrating LNG, we aim to reduce overall energy costs, enhance the efficiency of our generation assets, and minimize environmental impacts. This initiative introduces LNG as a cleaner alternative to heavy fuel oil and automotive diesel oil. LNG is being implemented for efficient generation in New Providence to reduce the overall energy cost to the consumer, improve the efficiency of the generation assets, and reduce environmental impacts. LNG is being brought to the Bahamas as HFO and ADO is being transitioned out. The bulk purchase of LNG will be sourced from a partnership with Shell. Other partners in the LNG implementation will include Bahamas Utility Company as the independent power producer under a power purchase agreement. By 2026, we will construct a state-of-the-art 177 megawatt combined cycle LNG plant at the Blue Hills Power Station. This initiative facility will feature 4 natural gas units paired with 2 steam turbines, maximizing efficiency by utilizing excess steam from the gas units. This combined cycle configuration will be the most cost-effective generation solution in the BPL fleet. It will replace the 107 megawatt of rented generation capacity and address the 63 megawatt generation shortfall under contingency conditions, enhancing redundancy and resilience. In addition to the new units, BPL will convert 2 of its original generators at the Blue Hills Power Plant, completing the transition to a more efficient and resilient system. BPL and its consumers are projected to save approximately $125 million annually through fuel switching and improved engine efficiency. Reform 5, equity rate adjustment, better known as ERA. Beginning in July 2024, a new equity rate adjustment will make bills more affordable for many Bahamian families now as we transition to a new era in energy. With the existing tariff structure, residential customers and SMEs are presently subsidizing general service customers, high-energy users. The equity rate adjustment is a reduction in the base tariff rate for residential consumers. The adjustment creates a more equitable balance to the current tariff structure and encourages energy conservation. All residential consumers with low and moderate electricity usage will benefit, as the base rate tariff for the first 0 to 200 kilowatt hours will be reduced to 0. The upper bands will stay the same, but even if you are a resident with a bill of around 600 kilowatt hour, you will still benefit from your first 200 kWh being 0. Note everyone will still have to pay for the fuel charge for every unit they consume. The commercial-based tariff will drop slightly from 15 cents to 14.5 cents, and the temporary supply-based tariff, which particularly affects the Family Islands, will drop from 16.38 cents to 15 cents. Again, they will both continue to also pay for their fuel charge. We're also amending the fuel charge by reducing the charge for the first 800 kWh by 2.5 cents and increasing the charge above 800 kWh by 1.5 cents. Consumers who use less energy will enjoy a lower fuel charge. This is important as the more electricity used on the grid, the more BPL must utilize generators, which are more expensive to run. The new rates will be in effect until a comprehensive tariff review is completed and new rates are approved by the government and ERCA. The general service-based tariff will rise slightly from 8.7 to 10 cents for the first 900,000 units, and from 6.2 to 9 cents for units above 900,000. Currently, general service customers receive a subsidy of about $20 million from other BPL customers every year, but they will still be paying less than all other energy classes and will still benefit from a more modest subsidy. The cost of energy should fall over time because of the efficiency upgrades at BPL, which includes the installation of a new HFO boiler at Clifton Pier to save $36 million per year in fuel costs, installation of 2 new 30-megawatt LNG burning units, which will save $30 million per year in fuel costs, and conversion of BPL's USD debt to BSD. I am so excited that we are all here to take part in the transformative energy journey, to be able to say that we did it. I'm very proud with our solar solutions for New Providence and the Family Islands that all successful bidders had at least 50% Bahamian ownership, and many were in fact 100% Bahamian owned. We are also delighted that opportunities for young Bahamians will be created through a partnership with the Bahamas Technical and Vocational Institute. The positive effect of what we are kicking off now will not only be felt by our children and our children's children generation, but it will be noticed around the world. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister Davis. Thank you, Minister Colby Davis. Thank you to our partners for your presence here today. The Davis administration looks forward to bringing these complex plans to fruition and the dawning of a new energy future for all Bahamians. Thanks again for coming. Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning, and have a great day. Okay. All right, I'm told that you can access the full details on the Office of the Prime Minister's webpage, opm.gov.bs. Thank you.